We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herger. Again, president, founder of First Shot Foundation. I welcome in a friend and brother, Shane Reeves. We got to know each other a little bit through a good friend of ours that has passed away, David Hoke. Miss him dearly. I miss our group dearly.
Right.
So with that, talk a little bit about what that group meant to you and why did you stay in it for all those years? It was a long running, almost 10 years.
Right. So first, let me say thank you for inviting me to be on your show. Appreciate being part of this daily roundtable that you're doing 5 days a week, Andy, and very much appreciate your heart and for what you do with First Shot and for the difference you make in our community and for the kids, the hundreds, if not probably thousands of kids you've touched over the last number of years. And so I'm honored to be on your show and to be a brother in Christ as well with you. So what Andy is referring to is, I don't know exactly how many years ago it was, but there was an eclectic group of men. Andy and I were two of them, but we also had David Hoke, former realtor, and then a couple of other friends, John Amari and Bobby Griggs, that all got together, and we would get together once a quarter and just sit down, and really it was just an iron sharpening iron session. We would come to the table and say, here's things going on, and here's obstacles I'm facing in my business. Here are opportunities that I'm looking at. Here's what's going on in my family. Here's what's going on in my spiritual life. And it was really just a process to every single quarter to just sit down and talk about what's working and what's not working, and to really try to leave there with some best ideas, some best practices on how just to be better men, better husbands, better fathers, better businessmen, better just operators in whatever we're doing. So it was a real blessing.
So I always took away from the guys that were in there. You guys were some of the most well-read young men. I call you young because you all were younger than me besides David, and I were the same age. So why don't you talk about why is it so important to stay current and to stay reading books that you read? Like you've given me 5 great books that I have, devoured. Why is that so important to you?
Yep, great question. So one thing is, anytime I speak to a group of young people nowadays, I mean, there's a number of things I'll always say, but without question, I always say leaders are readers and readers are leaders. I don't know anyone in business, in ministry, in politics, in church, in any major area that don't read. And the reason you have to read is you can't give to other people if you're not filling yourself up. If you're filling yourself up with the Bible or filling yourself with whatever you're choosing to put in your head. And when I first graduated pharmacy school in 1994, long time ago, 30 years ago, brother, I found out pretty soon I was a pretty good pharmacist, but I had so much to learn in regards to business. So right out of school, I started just picking up books. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Good to Great with Jim Collins, The E-Myth, so many early books that I would read, and it found out pretty quickly that not everybody did read. And so those who I was around, I would have an opportunity. Well, have you heard about this idea? Have you heard about this concept, how these things might apply? And it quickly became apparent that it was a competitive advantage to have a sense of what's going on. And so to this day, I'm constantly looking and reading new things. One new thing that I've started doing since we're grouped together a few years ago, I do read more biographies now. I'm 56 years of age, and when you get to where I'm at now, there's only so many. Let's just be honest. I'm probably 2/3 through with whatever life God's going to give me, and it's just helpful for me to look at other men in their 40s and 50s and 60s and what they did in their lives as I kind of think about the next couple of decades left in mine. And so I really enjoy good biographies.
The one thing I also remember too about you is how long you contemplated running for politics. It wasn't I think sometimes we take such light decisions and make snap decision. I want people out there to know it was 2 or 3 years that we sat in that group, and you kind of talked a little bit about it and why you would want to and why not. And there was as many why nots as there were whys for you. So at the end of the day, you made that decision. Why?
So I'm going to share something with your listeners that I don't think I've ever shared publicly today. This will be an interesting thought. For one thing, my father was mayor of Murfreesboro, city councilman of Murfreesboro. So I grew up with a dad that embraced public service. So early on, I was exposed to that. And I always loved Tennessee, and I loved Rutherford County, I loved Murfreesboro, and I was looking for a way to give back. When I graduated pharmacy school when I was 26 again, right out of the gates, I was hungry and had the itch and wanted to serve early on, but I had a young career, worked at Reeves drugstore with Rick Sane, my former partner. I had a young wife, I had a young family, and in my late 20s and in my 30s, I was just trying to build a life. I was involved in campaigns, local campaigns, state campaigns, federal campaigns, and I wanted to run so bad and had the itch so incredibly bad. But if you would have grabbed the 26-year-old Shane and you would have said, Shane, what exactly would you like to run for? I would have told you 30 years ago, I'd really like to run for U.S. Congress. At the time, Bart Gordon was our local U.S. House member, and I said, someday when Bart retires, I'd like to run for U.S. Congress. So when I was thinking that I was 26. So this is the one thing I've never shared before. When I got to be 40, many years later, I actually got a call from Congressman Gordon. And Congressman Gordon called me and said, Shane, I've been serving this number of years as our congressman in this area, and I've decided I'm not going to run again. And I'm going to be making the announcement next week I'm not going to run again. And you're a local guy, you love the community. Bart served as a Democrat, I was a Republican. You could see the waves were turning in the community. More than likely a Republican was going to win. And he said, I'd like for you to consider running as a Republican because I'd love to continue to keep someone from Rutherford County in the district. So I went home and I talked to my wife, and I remember she started crying. We had 3 young children at home, and she said, well, honey, I guess this is it. I guess we're going to go to Washington, and that's going to be part of it. I talked to my former partner at the time, which was Rick Sane, about what I was doing. And then I talked to my dad, and he said, have you completely lost your mind? He said, you're 40 years of age. You got 3 children at home that are incredibly young. You've got a young business. You're doing well. You're involved in the community. Got a lot going at your church. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you to run down the road. And at some point in time, a decade from now, when you're 50, you're going to look back on your life and you're going to have to weigh out regrets. The question is, what regrets do you want to weigh out? Do you want to have the regrets you weren't a congressman? Or do you want to have the regret that you walked away and just don't have a good relationship with your wife or your children or your business? So I made the decision when I was 40 not to run, and God blessed that. God blessed that decision. When I turned 50 is when the state Senate opportunity rolled around and for me to run in Jim Tracy's former seat. But to your point, I had thought about it for years and years and years and years. And then when all things lined up, the timing was right, and it's been good.
So I know a lot of people know you, but to know you, like I think I know you a little deeper. Is
Sure.
God has always come first in your life, your wife second,
Absolutely.
and then your children, and your business probably is a distant fourth.
Right.
Right, but you've always been driven at a very early age. Why do you think you're different than the guy sitting in another seat that's not as driven as you? What drives you?
Well, I don't know if I'm necessarily, if that's good or bad, or if I'm different or one way compared to somebody else. But let me react or respond to a couple things you said there, which is one thing about faith. Andy, the truth is, everybody's going to put their faith in something, brother. They just are. I've chosen to put my faith in God and Christ. Some people put their faith in their business. Some put it in their family. Some people put their faith in the Tennessee Titans. You've got to decide what your faith is going to be around, where you're going to get your worldview from, which in turn sets your priorities. So early on, it became important to me. It was faith, it was family, it was career, it was service, and it was health. Those are really my 5 core values, the things that really drove me early on. And I think those 5 values kind of gave me a sense of why. So you kind of get a sense of what you want to do and what you believe in, what your value systems are. You can really lean into just those areas. So from an ambition perspective, I just think a lot of my success has just been about focusing on things that are most important to me. And I decided there's just a lot of things I'm not good at. I mean, there's just things I'm not good at. And I've quit doing things along the way that I'm just not good at. And I've tried my best to surround myself with people that are good in those different areas. The handful of 3 or 4 things I'm good at, I lean into them all the time. But all the areas that I'm not good at, I try to get really good, talented people in my life, and I try to encourage them to be successful. And I would feel like you combine focus with surrounding yourself with talent, and that's a great recipe for success.
You know, it's amazing how I think people that are grounded and do have core values can hire people that are more talented than them in other areas, and how, Shane, if you're not really grounded and not really have those core beliefs, you're going to hire average people and have an average business. You obviously have hired talented people around you. 12 Stone's taken off. Why don't you talk about the growth of it over the past, wow, you could even say 36 months. It blows me away every time I talk to your leadership
Right.
guys that are friends of mine as well. But talk about the growth and
Sure.
where it's going and why is it important?
If this show was totally about business and I was going to give you 10 thoughts on being successful in business, the number one thing would be hire people that are so much more talented and smart than you are in certain areas, and then do your best to manage the tension. You're going to have tension in a workplace. Manage the tension, solve the problems you need to solve, but really manage the tension. But just hire super smart people and let them run. That's a big part of it. So I was, like I said, I graduated pharmacy school in 1994. I was blessed to be business partners with Rick Sane for 20 years. Sold that business with Rick in 2015. And a couple of years after that, I really started 12 Stone, which is a business that takes care of patients with chronic, complex, and rare diseases, primarily IVs, people that want to get infusions. Andy, our first... What has really set the company on the course it is on today is that in 2018, we recognized that more and more people with chronic conditions like Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, cancer, HIV. I mean, these chronic conditions, but unless God heals you, you're going to have it the rest of your life. People with those disease states needed to get IVs, but they didn't necessarily want to get them in their home because sometimes they're just not safe to get in the home. They didn't want to go to a hospital system and get them in a room with 100 people. So we decided to open up a private infusion center in Murfreesboro in 2018. And I said, if we're going to open up a private infusion center, let's just make nice private suites. So we made it feel kind of like a spa with a lot of individual little private suites in 2018. And brother, it worked. Patients liked it. Doctors liked it. Insurance companies liked it. And I said, well, let's try it again. So in 2019, we went to Chattanooga and opened a second one of those. And by doing that, we were able to kind of refine the standards, what they're going to look like. Canna Lowry is our chief operating officer. A lot of folks in town know Miller Lowry and Canna Lowry, who's been here forever. Cannon is, one of his gifts is he's just really good at creating standards. So really developing what are the colors going to be, what's the size going to be, what are the doorknobs going to look like. Cannon's a great, he could create a standard you could replicate. So he took the lead on building that. Dave Carter, friend of yours, who's been a big supporter over the years. Dave's talent is identifying the right locations and hiring great sales teams to build it in the marketplace. So we had one in Chattanooga. 2020, COVID hit, but COVID helped our business because people did not want to go to hospitals and they did not want to go to nursing homes, and they struggled going to doctors' offices. But in 2020, we opened up one in Knoxville. We opened up one down in Canton, Georgia. The business continued to grow in 2021. So by the time we got to 2022, it was apparent this was an opportunity, and we really leaned into it. So sitting here with you this morning, we've been blessed. We have 21 locations. We have 8 in Tennessee. We have 6 in Georgia. We have 5 in Virginia. And we just opened up 2 in Kentucky, 1 in Louisville and 1 in Lexington. Great, great, great people. And all I have to do is go around to radio shows like this and just smile and talk about the good things going on. Just blessed to have great people.
Well, again, part of that roundtable that we were part, a lot of that was discussed.
Sure.
And how to hire those people, how to identify them. So how have you identified great people and great leaders? Because it is a gift. It's hard.
Sure it is. Take your time. That's one thing. Take your time. You've got to be real clear about exactly what the role is in the company, what is where they fit in the organizational structure, and what are the specific tasks you want them to do. That's one thing. You take Dave Carter, for instance. Dave Carter is a great leader of teams. I needed somebody to manage teams. I didn't need somebody who could just go sell. I needed somebody who could manage teams. So to get someone in that position that knew how to do that was important. So once you've really got clarity around what the skill set is that you need, then you can really spend the time interviewing and trying to find the right chemistry, the right culture, the right capabilities. I would just say, I know people have heard this before, you hire slow, you fire fast. You just move on. But take your time, get the right people, help onboard them, invest in them, recognizing that people are people, and you're going to have issues. You're going to have tensions you have to manage, as I said earlier, overall. But if you can get all the right people around the table, you can have success. You may have a football team. The quarterback might not like the punter, and the punter might not like the tailback, and the tailback might not like the linebacker. But as long as they know their jobs and they focus on their jobs, and as long as you've got one person at the top who really can help them all function together in their own areas as a team, you'll win. And everybody wants to win.
See, I think that's what a great coach does anyways. Manage tension. There's always egos.
Sure.
If you're hiring great people, there's an ego involved in it, whether we like to say that or not.
Sure.
And so how do you massage those tensions, those egos?
Well, one of the things I commonly say at 12 Stone is there are tensions to be managed and there are problems to be solved. And there's a difference there. There's a real difference in managing tensions and solving problems. And you have to ask yourself a lot of times, what is causing the tensions? In any company that's out there, you're going to have a tension usually between the finance department and between the sales department.
Always.
Just going to be tension. Sales is going to want to have more money to do what they want to do from a growth perspective. The finance department's going to want to make bottom line and want to have cash. That is going to be a tension that is going to have to be managed. So as a leader, I think it's important to help those groups recognize that, help them both try to find the win-win that's in both of their different areas. And I could give you multiple other examples just like that where there are true tensions. It becomes a problem to be solved when one person or one team of people on either side simply look at this more as a vendetta, and they're just not willing to try to be part of the holistic, larger picture. And when that becomes an issue, that's a problem to be solved. You got to change a person, you got to change a process, you got to change a technology to be successful.
So again, I think all this growth that you have had in business leads me to why I said, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, I hope one day I'm voting for you. Because I think it's what you have to do in government to get things done and not just railroad over people.
Sure.
That we're doing something for the common good. Tell us how you use those skill sets down on the Senate floor.
Yep, absolutely. So a couple of things. One is one of the questions I get asked real often is why did I run for office in the first place? And I ran for office in 2018 primarily because I really do love our community. And there's life after politics. I've realized early on at some point in time I'm not doing this job anymore. And since I'm not going to do this job anymore at some point in time, I want to look back on my season of serving in public office and be proud of those years. So you have to kind of run it through the filter. So when you're in Nashville, I try to run everything through 2 filters. I try to say what's best for my district and what's best for my conscience. You vote your conscience, you vote your district over and over and over again. Then when I'm 20 years from now looking back on my time in the Senate, I don't think I'll have a lot of regrets. But There are 33 state senators, 33 of us. There are 95 counties across the state. There are 7 million people in the state, and you can only imagine in the state of Tennessee, in the state Senate, there are multiple different opinions. People are all along the political ideology, from the far left to the far right to the middle, across the board. So all I can do is be me. And I have approached this job from the very beginning, probably not so much through a political bent, as much as just looking at it from a business person's perspective, which is, let's try and get things done. To really try to focus on getting things done. You know what the number one thing is we're required to do? The number one thing? Pass a budget. That's the only thing we are constitutionally required to do, is to pass a budget. We passed a $56 billion budget this last year, and it pays for 5 things. It pays for education for our wonderful school teachers around the state. It pays for health care, primarily our TennCare Medicaid program. It pays for our roads, a lot of the TDOT in the roads. It pays for public safety, a lot of our jails, our TBI, and it pays for social services like Department of Children's Services, Department of Human Services. That's about 85% of our budget. And to me, that's the most important thing we do. We need to pass a budget in a conservative way, because it's not my money, it's your money. People are paying in their taxes. So I'm trying my best to be conservative in how we do those things. So looking at it from a business perspective and really trying to evaluate what's the return on investment and where we're going has really served me well. And I've spent a lot of time studying Tennessee since I've been in there and looking at what are we doing well and what do we need to work on. And there are things we need to work on in the state.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about those things that we did well,
okay,
and what we have to improve on.
Great.
So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the Roundtable.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates.
All right, guys, it's Scott. If you're feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out now. At Low T Center here in Murfreesboro on Medical Center Parkway, they make it easy to get your levels checked. And with their on-site lab, you'll get those results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results. And most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer a convenient, physician-monitored, self-inject treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come into the office for weekly visits. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. Yep, you can lose weight. Get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
We're talking with Mary Ellen Evans. Why did you choose Adams Place?
Mostly based on a realization that I wouldn't find anything more beautiful. The architecture is superb, elegant, and the people are caring. The residents, they consider it one family. I mean, this is just an unbelievable combination of good things.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111. Adams Place.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and Americare Pest Control.
I've got pets. Here's Tom Sweat with Americare Services Incorporated.
Americare's moisture control services include mold testing, mold remediation, crawl space repair, vapor barrier, sump pump installation, radon testing, radon mitigation, and basement waterproofing. If there's something wrong in your crawl space or basement, we can probably help. Just ask for a free inspection.
893-7111.
All the best of the best to get rid of your pets.
Americare Services Incorporated.
WGNS encourages you to shop local. Let's patronize our local family businesses. Don't forget, Walter Hill Elementary School's 100th anniversary is this Saturday from 11 until 1 at Walter Hill Elementary School. You need to be there. Something Rotten is at the Art Center of Cannon County in neighboring Woodbury. Something Rotten, now through August 17th. Tryouts this Saturday for the Legacy Lions boys and girls middle school basketball. Those tryouts will be at Walter Hill First Baptist Church. The girls' tryouts are from 10 to 11:30, and the boys are from noon until 1:30. That's this Saturday at Walter Hill First Baptist Church. Farm fresh produce every Tuesday and Friday from 7 until noon at the Lane Agri Park. That's the farmer's market. There's also fresh produce around the Murfreesboro Square, Saturday mornings for the Main Street Market, 8 until noon, all around the courthouse. And if you live in Smyrna, the farmers market's from 8 until noon Saturday morning at the train depot. And those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
Sunny skies here this afternoon. We'll see a high in the upper 90s. Winds out of the northeast to 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear, low near 72. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 76.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, who offers energy-saving tips during the hot summer months. Minimize use of stoves and ovens which raise kitchen temperatures. Opt for grilling, slow cooker, or microwave. Find more at mte.com/myenergyplan.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable, WGNS. I'm Andy Herzer, founder, executive director of First Shot. We have a upcoming event, September 25th. It's called the Autumn with the Alley. It's our fundraiser to fund our STEM program. If you'd like to find out more information, you can give me a call at 615-631-5312. Or you can go on to our website, firstshottn.org. Again, thank you for your support. Welcome back in, Shane Reeves. We were talking just before you left, things that this state does really well. Let's talk about that first.
Sure. And by the way, I've proudly written a check to First Shot for many, many years.
You've been a great supporter. And you know the other thing you've really done for me?
What's that?
Is connect me to different people. And that's really what people don't understand, what a gift you have in that area.
Right.
You're gifted at it. And we've talked about those gifts around that table. That's one of your great gifts, and I want to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Here on air. But I want to really talk about you, not about me.
Well, I got plenty of things to anybody listen. I got lots to work on too, and I do. I've got plenty of weaknesses as well, but I appreciate you saying that. So what Tennessee does well. And I could spend a good bit of time on this, but I think first, the single most important thing I think we do well, and what we're probably known for across the entire country, is how incredibly well we manage the state's money. We are, at any given time, one of the lowest tax states in the entire country. We're the lowest debt state in the entire country. We pay cash for all of our roads in the state of Tennessee. We're one of the best states in the entire country for small businesses to be successful in. We're one of the best states in the whole country for economic development, which that's why everybody's moving here, by the way. We're having 85,000 people a year moving to Tennessee. They're coming here primarily because of the financial climate. They're coming here as well because they like the cultural values of Tennessee and a number of those things. But we do such a good job in managing our state. Anytime I speak to a group, Andy, and by the way, I'm the senator of the 14th district, which is part of Rutherford County. The other part of it's Senator Dawn White. I also have all of Bedford County, have all of Cannon County, which is Woodbury, and have all of Moore County, which is Lynchburg. That's my 4 counties I currently serve. I used to have Marshall County and Lincoln County when I first ran, but when I got redistricted, they got pulled out. But anytime I speak to a group, I will say the state of Tennessee is only as successful as its counties and its cities. And the reason Rutherford County and the reason Murfreesboro and Laverne, the reason it's booming here is because they're doing these 4 or 5 things right. We do education right here. That's why we're building a school a year. That's why Dr. Sullivan has got all he can stand. We do healthcare right here, multiple healthcare systems. We do public safety right here with our first responders. We do economic development and jobs right here, and we do infrastructure right here. roads, bridges, Wi-Fi. So as a state, when you're investing in areas with that money, a county that does those 5 things right will flourish.
So let's take one of yours, because
Okay.
I'm very well versed in it, because I've trained a lot of kids over at Woodbury.
Right.
So it's kind of near and dear to my heart.
Right.
It's a county that struggles a little bit. How do we bring them up to Rutherford County, Coffee County?
So I was over there last Thursday night with Representative Michael Hale. For 2 years in a row, they have gotten a clean audit from the Comptroller's office.
That's
so
awesome.
So it starts with leadership. They've got Mayor Greg Mitchell over there, and they've got a strong county commission. So the first thing you've got to do is get your financial house in order. You've got to. And the second thing from Cannon County's perspective is all 5 of those areas I just mentioned, and I don't know if anybody in your audience is from Cannon County, if they pick it up over that way. I mentioned education. They've gone from 7 schools down to 4 over there. So they pulled back to try to be smarter in their school systems. They have one hospital, healthcare system. That's the Woodbury Hospital over there that's managed by St. Thomas. Infrastructure. Well, if you go to Woodbury, they've got work to do on water and roads, Wi-Fi, broadband. I mean, if you're out on a family farm at Woodbury and you can't access the internet and you're a child, and so much of your work is done on Wi-Fi, what do? You drive into downtown Woodbury and go to the Sonic, I guess, or the McDonald's or wherever to try to make it work. Economic development. My one big piece of advice for the folks in Cannon County would be to let's work together with the state of Tennessee and with Cannon County and Woodbury in that area, and let's try to find a way to try to bring some really good new jobs to the community. New jobs bring new people, bring new houses, bring a new tax base. But there has to be a desire from that. I mean, Senator Shane Reeves can't make them do that. On a local level, they've got to decide, you know what, we want to bring a few thousand jobs to Cannon County over the next decade that are high-paying jobs, blue-collar jobs like we're bringing to Bedford County, and you'll look up 10, 15, 20 years from now, and Cannon County, which is incredibly well located, will be booming. And then they'll have more money for education, more money for infrastructure, more money for health care, more money for their sheriff. I was just with their sheriff last week. He was touting how they finally have got 3 SROs in their school systems, which they haven't had that over there before. But after the school shooting and after what we've done in Tennessee to try to provide that funding, they now have a school resource officer in all 3 of their schools, which is a big deal for Cannon County.
Yes, it is.
Big deal. But to me, when you look at a county like Cannon County, which is so many good people, such an agrarian, so many farmers that are over there,
yes.
Cannon County's just got to decide what Cannon County wants to be. And if they want to continue to be who they are, which is wonderful people, that's fine. But you have to have a tax base to be able to grow all those different areas. And you can only grow a tax base through property taxes, through sales taxes, through business taxes. So they've got to decide how they want to do those things over there. So that would be my advice.
So we've talked about the 5 areas that we do extremely well.
Right.
What are the things we need to improve on?
So I can spend the rest of the show on this one.
Well, we have the rest of the show to spend on it, because I do think people want to know, Shane, from our leaders, not just what they think's good, but what we have to improve, and with some real true solutions.
Sure.
So when we're talking about them, if we have a solution, let them know what it is.
Sure. So when I first got elected in 2018, it was a special election in 2018. By the time I got elected in March of 2018 and got sworn into office, I'm only down in Nashville from January to the end of April. So by the time I got to Nashville and found the bathrooms and hired somebody, we were done. So for the rest of 2018, I decided to really spend some time studying Tennessee and all these major areas and how we're doing it. And as I mentioned earlier, it became pretty apparent we do a good job on managing money. But if you start going down the list of the areas that we need to work on, you take education, for instance. There are things we do well in education and things we don't do well in education. We nationwide, we still graduate more kids than just about any other school in the entire country as far as just high school graduation. But we've still got work to do on teacher pay. We just passed a law that said you now are going to make $50,000 as a teacher in the state of Tennessee. That's going to be the minimum by 2026. So we've got work to do on public education in the state of Tennessee. I mentioned infrastructure. Tennessee almost consistently, believe it or not, y'all folks may not believe me out there, consistently we have some of the best roads in the country. Now, recently I know they're getting beat up, and insurance agencies are telling me how bad they are, but we are consistently shown to have some of the best roads in the entire country.
But see, I think a lot of people confuse roads from local,
right,
to county, to state, and to federal.
Right.
And we have so many of, I mean, why Tennessee thrives is our interstate, which is federal. We have a lot of them that run through our state.
We do.
But with that, we also have state roads, but we also have county roads. And a lot of people complain I know a lot, and they don't even know what road it is. Is it a city? Is it a county?
Right.
Is it a state? How are we supposed to know how that's managed?
I don't even know sometimes. I mean, because the city and the county and the state bleed over. I mean, I met with a group of friends here in town last week, but about a local project here in Rutherford County. They're trying to do a large development right now in Rutherford County. It's a fabulous development, but they can't do it without TDOT, which is the TDOT's money to come in and build a road to help them get this project in place. It's right here in the middle of Murfreesboro, by the way, that they've got to have to make this happen. But it runs through the city of Murfreesboro, so it all is very convoluted. But back on that original track, if you'll let me kind of pivot back. So we really have the best roads, but we have work to do across the state on utilities, water, Wi-Fi, some of the large river systems. We've got a lot of work to do overall on just infrastructure. But we do a good job on economic development. But here's the one area I want to make sure to hit. I think if people don't know this about me, I'm a pharmacist. My dad was a pharmacist. His uncle was a pharmacist. We've had a pharmacy in Murfreesboro since 1900. A.L. Smith Drugstore was started in 1900 on the Murfreesboro Square, right here next to the radio station. Long history in pharmacy. The one area, Andy, where we are the worst in the country is health. It's the health of our citizens. We are 47 out of 50 states in life expectancy. That ought to be that ought to be the statement of the morning for any of your listeners out there. We're 47 out of 50 states in life expectancy. We're at the bottom of the bottom in heart disease, in cancer, in obesity, in stroke, in drug overdose, diabetes. But we're in the bottom of the whole country in all those different areas. And what happens is when you have such poor health care, it impacts everything else that's going on. That it impacts our education systems, it impacts our housing, it impacts our jobs. It all fits together in these big communities. So when I'm speaking to groups and I talk about these numbers with health care, I'll say, why do you think Tennessee is got such poor health care outcomes compared to the rest of the country? And most people will say, well, it's because we eat too much fried chicken and catfish and we don't exercise enough and don't drink enough water. The truth is, that's about 30% of it. We smoke too much. That's only about 30% of our problem. The other 70% are other things we can control. Access to care. If you live in a small rural county and you don't have access to a doctor, you don't have access to an emergency room or a nursing home or home care, and you have a heart attack, you're going to die or you're going to have a problem with it. So access to care is a big part of it. Another component of it is what I call social determinants of health. You take an area of the state, if they're struggling with education, many times they also struggle with housing, they struggle with poverty, they struggle with healthcare. It all fits together. And that's about 40% of our issue. So if you go into an urban area like Memphis or Nashville, or you go to a small rural county that's a poor county, you got to fix everything. We were talking about Woodbury a minute ago. You got to fix everything in Woodbury to bring it all up to an area where it can be successful. So healthcare has been a primary focus of mine. If I could fix one thing over the next few years, I would focus on mental health care.
We're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Because we're going to take a last break, and we'll be right back with Senator Shane Reeves.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
As a leader in environmental services, sustainability is deeply integrated into our business model. At Middle Point Landfill, we are environmentalists at heart. This is Mike Klassen with Middle Point Landfill. We use cutting-edge technology in combination with our deep experience in recycling and waste services to protect our environment and our neighbors. That's our job, and that's our promise. We invite you to learn more about us at middlepointlandfill.com. For Public Services, we are sustainability in action.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
At Bud's Tire Pros, we sell all major brands of tires, and we invite you to stop by today for that next set of tires. Or maybe you need us to check out your vehicle before you head out of town. We offer everything from brakes to batteries, alignments, and more. No appointments necessary. Just stop on by.
I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
It's a Slick Pig barbecue, spicy wings and Brunswick stew, everything made fresh for you at the Slick Pig barbecue. There's lean smoked turkey and chicken too, ribs so tender don't need to chew. Well, come on folks, I'm telling you, it's a Slick Pig barbecue. In 1920 East Main, you're gonna love the pig.
The Slick Pig barbecue, a Murfreesboro tradition. There's probably a brick mailbox made by LaGreen's Masonry near you. Look at the brick mailboxes on their website, lagreensmasonry.com. Family owned and operated. LaGreen's Masonry is A+ rated by the BBB.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into WGNS and the Roundtable. And again, we're going to finish our conversation with State Senator Shane Reeves. And again, I want to thank you before the show's over for coming in. Shane, you talked about mental health. I believe it's the number one issue facing America right now. How do we solve it? You're a health expert. I'm not. Sure. And so I can recognize it, but I have no solutions for it.
So mental health, like so many issues that we face in Nashville, there is no silver bullet. There is no just fixing it. It's not like a pothole up and down Memorial Boulevard that we can just go fix. It's such a complicated issue. But I truly believe, after serving in Nashville for 6 years now, it is the single largest, most pervasive issue that's facing our entire state. And I see it everywhere I go. When I go to schools and I see schools, you've got behavioral issues with kids in schools. The teachers are frustrated by it. The principals are frustrated by it. The parents are frustrated by it. I see it in the local jail, and a lot of folks are in the local jail and what's going on there. Many of those individuals are they've grown up with mental health issues. They've had drug abuse related issues, and they're just in and out of jail because they've got mental health issues, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, suicidal ideation, just mental health issues. Homelessness, mention homelessness. The folks that are here in town, the majority of them got mental health related issues, which weighs on our society. All those things are really, really big problems. So you have how do you fix that? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to ensure that all those individuals that want it have got access to care. They've got to have access to care. And if you are terribly anxious or depressed or whatever issues going on, if you can't get access to care, and then ultimately have access to medication and therapy and inpatient services or outpatient services or whatever it is you need, partial hospitalization. If you can't get access to care, you're not going to move the dial. Mental health's like diabetes. It's just not going to get better. You're going to have to work on it and work on it and work on it. A lot of times the mental health related issues come from drug abuse. Tennessee a few years ago rolled out a concept called Tennessee Together, 2018, 2019, prior to COVID, and that had a three-pronged attack. One of those was, again, we were trying to deal specifically with drug abuse. One of it had to do with ensuring law enforcement had enough resources to go after the illicit drugs. A component of it had to do with providing additional monies for our mental health hospitals and our therapists to treat. And the last thing, there was a part of it also that went after prescription drugs to try to keep more just prescription drugs out of the marketplace, the opiates, the OxyContins of the world. That was 2018, 2019. We're as bad today as we've ever been. So as hard as we've tried, it's only gotten worse. The amount of fentanyl that's coming across the border, that's in our drugs nowadays, is killing so many people. It's just unsustainable. So it's just a complicated situation. But to me, if I was going to do one thing, you got to have access to care. Had a lady from church. I know I'm talking a lot here.
Nope. Talk.
I had a lady from church. Oh, Andy, it was probably back in April. Yeah, I know it was in April. First part of May. She came to me and said, Senator Reeves, my daughter, she's 14 years old, and she has had such a challenging school year, and she's struggling so much with anxiety and so much with depression. She started cutting herself, and she said, everybody's just recommending we've got to get in to see a psychiatrist. She goes, Senator, we have found a psychiatrist, a pediatric psychiatrist in Nashville. Keep in mind, it's around the 1st of May, and I said, well, outstanding. She goes, the problem is we can't get into August. We're August here this morning. So if you've got to go the whole month of June, the whole month of July, and part of August to get into the right person who can really help our daughter, that's a mess. We can't solve these problems if we don't provide additional behavioral health resources for people to get access to care. And in this community, lots and lots of good people are doing it out there. I know many of you that are doing it out there, and I appreciate the work you're doing across the board. A lot of them here in town. But we just need so much more. Trust Point can only do so much to try to address this issue. So I would start with access to care across the state of Tennessee.
So to provide that access, let's go back to Woodbury. They don't have that access, and they have a drug problem in Cannon County.
They do.
And we know that.
Good people.
And there are a lot of good people, but it's again one of those things. I don't know how you'd stop the flow of fentanyl if you didn't have the demand for it.
That's true.
Right. So how do we then stop the demand? So where does that start to stop that demand? Because it's our bad behavior that is causing the demand.
So I guess you have to ask yourself, why are people going to fentanyl in the first place? And to me, that's a bigger question of why do people go to any vices in the first place in their life? And many times it's simply trying to numb other aspects of their life. I think there are probably occasions when people are at a party or they're out someplace and they get exposed to something and they get addicted to it. But a lot of times when people get addicted to any vice, they're just trying to address their own issues. Anxiety, depression, loneliness, and so next thing you know, they're using fentanyl, they're using cocaine, they're using these ecstasy type of products to just try to give them a lift in life. So to me, it's a root issue. Let's work on the family. Let's try to ensure that people have got access to support spiritually that want it as well, and not just having it at home. It's such a huge, complicated problem. But a lot of it starts in the home.
It's no doubt we have a broken home.
We do.
And until we solve it, and it's now, Senator, after doing what I've done for 20 years, it's not one culture or another cultures. It's really a human issue of all Tennesseans, all Americans, that we have a broken home, and in it, our kids suffer the most. And my kids are a product of a broken home. Mm. And I'm very thankful that now my kids are spiritually yoked like me.
That's good.
And I do believe, and I think you do too, is part of that answer is how do we step up without beating them over the head with religion, but love them to a spiritual awakening.
Yeah, a new term that I've been introduced to in the last few months is religious trauma. Yeah, young people that feel like, especially in the Bible Belt here, that feel like they're products of religious trauma. It's just too much Jesus. It's too much trying to beat things into the hearts of these young people, as opposed to simply planting the seeds and waiting for them to break a little bit and letting those seeds fall in where they can grow. And then when they start growing, you're there to encourage and nurture and try to make it go. But faith is a personal thing. It's a personal thing. You cannot make people want to embrace their faith and their Creator and who they are. So it's very, very personal. And I cannot pass legislation to address that. I can't pass legislation to help marriages to be healthier. I can pass legislation to try to provide better jobs and economic and opportunity, try to provide better roads and healthcare and education. But at the end of the day, I can't pass legislation to simply make marriages healthier.
Well, it's what I said when I was in coaching. You can't legislate morality.
No.
I mean, the coaches that were going to cheat are going to cheat. No matter what the rules were, they were going to try to get an edge. That edge was cheating.
Sure.
And, you get mad at it, but all they ever did, you can't legislate morality. But I do think this, Shane, it's one of your other gifts. You have a very loving spirit. And I do believe that that's the answer. Jesus met people and loved them. He didn't beat them into submission. He just loved them. And that's, again, why I start everything with First Shot is, what's my job? And they'll say, to love us. And with that, you have this loving spirit about you that you've championed a cause greater than yourself in really sacrificing and going down to Nashville. How much longer is Shane going to do this?
Well, I'm doing it in this next election because I'm running right now.
That's what I wanted you to.
Yeah.
So you're running now.
Yeah, it's running. I mean, it's a 4-year cycle. I ran in 2018, and 2018, like it was a special election. 2020, I had to run again, but it was right in the middle of COVID. So in the middle of COVID, you couldn't go anywhere. I mean, literally, from a political perspective, not only could I not go anywhere, nobody wanted you to go anywhere. So you really had to run from home, through mail, and other areas. So 2024, I'm running again this fall. And I just tend to think you take it a season at a time, Andy. I will have been there 6 years, and continue as long as I continue to feel like I'm adding value. I'm enjoying it. You won't enjoy it that I'm adding value and that I enjoy it and that it's not a terrible sacrifice on my family or my health. I think it's something I will continue to move down the path. One of my favorite quotes is from Francis Chan, and Francis Chan says, "Your greatest fear in life should not be in succeeding. No, your greatest fear in life should not be in failing. Your greatest fear in life should be succeeding in areas of life that don't really matter."
Ooh.
So what I want to make sure that at the end of my life that I'm doing is, why in the world would I want to be incredibly successful in politics and lose my marriage? Why would I want to make all the money in the world in my business and not have a relationship with my children? Why in the world would I want to be an incredibly successful CEO and not have my health? Let's make sure we're succeeding in life, that things that really, really matter. And whether I'm a senator for another day, another week, another number of years, it'll all work itself out.
Well, again, I'm going to ask that you get out and vote, because it's just, to me, horrid that we had only about 10% of the population that's registered to vote in Rutherford County vote. It should mean more.
It should.
And I hope you get out and vote. I hope you get out and vote for my good friend,
thank you,
Senator Shane Reeves. And hey, we'll do this again if you don't.
Please
come back in a quarter. At least we'll get our quarterly meeting in.
I suspect that the November election will be a lot bigger than the one we just had a few weeks ago with the presidential ticket and some of the hotly contested federal races. I'd say Alan Farley and the Election Commission will have all they can stand in November.
Well, again, thanks for coming in, Shane.
Thank you. Blessings.